With Jon Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Preview Show. We are looking at Wednesday's 6-game main slate coming off of a Tuesday 9-gamer. James, was a pretty interesting evening so far. Our boy, Andre Drummond, not only got the start for the injured Vucevic, he played 39 minutes. He went, 22 points, 25 rebounds. With a handful of blocks and steals in that game. Absolutely shattered the slate. I was in a contest where he was 67% owned, which had me wondering what did the other 33% do with their lineups on this day here. Probably set their lineups and forgot to change it, but Drummond was everything we would have hoped for and more. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had a monster day on the slate as well, so some big-time performances. Wednesday's slate's a bit messy. We already have Joel Embiid ruled out. Luka Doncic is questionable. Giannis is questionable. Donovan Mitchell is questionable. SGA is on a back-to-back against the Knicks. So it'll be pretty interesting to see how this plays out, because if we lose some more of these top-priced players, the roster construction on a 6-game slate that the first game starts at 7, and the last game starts at 8:30, so you'll know by bedtime where you're standing. It should be a pretty fun day to build some rosters.
4 teams on a back-to-back: Washington, Orlando, Brooklyn, Houston. At least the second legs of back-to-backs there. As you mentioned, 4 of the top 5 priced players are either questionable or out. We don't know what OKC is going to do on a back-to-back. They had a lot of injury designations going into Tuesday's slate, so it makes you wonder if they're a good Tuesday, I'm sure they'll play Wednesday, but you don't know, like Giddey's ankle, could that have swelled up overnight? And
Jalen Williams is questionable in that game.
Yeah. So there is going to be a lot of news. Nothing else. I guess Nurkic he's probable, so we should have Yusuf Nurkic back. Karis LeVert is questionable. If there's no LeVert, no Mitchell, we know where to go. Call on our boy Craig Porter Jr., who another undrafted Wichita State alum. Him and Van Vliet. I believe Van Vliet's a Wichita State guy, right? Isn't that where he came from?
I am not up to date on colleges. That is true, though. He did go to Wichita State. Yes.
No, I don't know. Maybe they just have these undrafted dudes just sitting there, just like, hey, don't forget about me. And
Van Vliet being undrafted and then getting the contract that he just got.
Right.
Pretty impressive. He too had a pretty good night. Şengün had the big night there for Houston. No shock to anyone in that spot there for sure. When it comes to game totals here, we have 238 in the Toronto-Washington game. Washington is a 7-point home underdog. We have 240.5 in the Milwaukee-Brooklyn game. Brooklyn's at home here as a 3-point underdog. Again, Brooklyn on the back-to-back here. Washington on the back-to-back. Milwaukee could be without Giannis, so something to pay attention to there. And then the Knicks versus the Thunder. We talked about this with the Knicks too, right? Like, not playing good defense these days. Their game in a game with a 238.5 total there. The Thunder are just 2.5-point favorites, which, again, we've talked about, feels a little disrespectful. They went and dominated their own matchup tonight. They ran the starters off the floor for Minnesota, had the Timberwolves pull their guys off there in the fourth. We've been touting this pretty heavily. When the Thunder are at home and it's a close spread like that, I'm betting the Thunder, each and every day here. Now, I know the injury concerns probably have something to do with that. Them being on a back-to-back probably a little bit something to do with that. But if we get Jalen Williams and Josh Giddey in for this game here, I think the Thunder at home, given the 2, is a pretty good bet.
I mean, dude, they just beat the number 1 seed in the NBA
by 30, right?
By 23, and beat them by 12 in the fourth quarter. Like, what are we doing here? The Knicks did have a really impressive win against Milwaukee the last time out on Christmas Day, but
Milwaukee's problem is they can't play D, as we've talked about all season.
So
Jalen
that
Brunson, who was the cover boy of the Monday show there, popped off for, I think it was 38 actual. So
yeah, he did. He has definitely owned the The Milwaukee
Bucks. I think
Bucks.
it's his third game of 30+ points against them this year. So.
He averages 36 in 4 games against them this year.
Hey, Dame Lillard is not a good defensive player here.
No.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in the Nets. We weren't really in on Dinwiddie tonight, but that guard rotation, maybe a Cameron Thomas game coming our way on this slate. Let's get into
it. Is I do want to bring this up, John. There was some weird comments from head coach Jacques Vaughn of the Brooklyn Nets.
Okay.
Before Tuesday's game, and that game was a nail biter against the Pistons, who broke the NBA record for most losses in a row. The comments were basically him saying he knows that he needs to change the starting lineup, but he's not. He'll figure it out, and he'll do it on his own time.
Sure.
So that's kind of weird, because when you know that your lineup that you're throwing out there is not efficient, he literally used the word inefficient.
Mm-hmm.
You should probably change it more sooner than later, and not on your own time. Just do it on the time that you should do it on, now, right? I think something's going to change. I would expect either Dinwiddie or Cam Thomas to move to the bench. That would be my first expectation.
I thought maybe Cam Johnson would move,
and maybe Cam Johnson. The obvious is Finney Smith or Royce O'Neal, or both starting, right? Because they're both they're probably best defenders. So
once Ben Simmons comes back, if and when Ben Simmons comes back, right, that rotation, they need more defense on the floor, and Simmons obviously brings that. So that's why my initial thinking was Cam Johnson goes to the 6-man role, and O'Neal or Finney Smith get in there and play a little wing D. Bridges is obviously a good wing defensive player, but looking more for his offense now in Brooklyn than he was when he was at Phoenix here. Let's get into the slate, though. Point guard position, Luka Doncic is 11-8. We don't need to talk about it. If he's in, you're in. The man just went for 97 fantasy points. Is this his second 90? It is his second 90 fantasy point game of the year. He had 93 against the Thunder in a game where he played 46 minutes. He played 44 against Phoenix in that game, had a 50 actual point game, and he could be going up against Cleveland. That's no Garland, no Mobley, no Mitchell, and no LeVert. It's Greg Porter, Sam Merrill. Who's checking up Luka in this spot, right?
I don't really have much to add. I mean, there's
no one's checking Luka anyways, but who on Cleveland would end up be checking Luka here? Right?
No, I mean, it's not. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he was facing the Monstars right now. He would be. He'd probably still.
Yeah, he'd be the Jordan, right? Michael Jordan still get enough against the Monstars, like Luka right there.
Yeah, Luka's the top play of the slate if he plays, bar none.
Yeah, 100% in agreement here. That game is your late night hammer 8:30 start. So hopefully we'll get some of that info before the 7:00 tip. Right. SGA on the back-to-back and coming off a really good game against Minnesota. Now he gets the Knicks. Again, Knicks are not playing any good defense. They still play super slow. Yep. They're one of the bottom pace teams in the league, but that stuff doesn't generally matter when it comes to SGA. As we talked about on the stream on Tuesday, elite players, you just play them in their spots and you let them kind of do their thing. If the Thunder are going to win this game, it's probably because SGA's got 34-5 on stat sheet. So happy to get there if you want to go there. Booker's under 10K for the first time in a little bit. It could be a short slate pricing. We've seen that at times, some depressed pricing on these smaller slates. You got him at 96, you have Dame at 9K, and you have Maxey at 8,800, and we already know that Joel Embiid is ruled out for this game.
So, I mean, the first thing that pops out to me is I was actually thinking Dame, because Giannis is questionable, and now we're getting Dame at $9,000. I mean, yeah, I get it. 47, 42, 42 fantasy points, but dude, to 2 games prior, he went for 58 and 70, and Giannis was in both of those contests. So it's kind of crazy to think Damian Lillard is getting a Bucks team. Dude, even in a game they clearly struggled, and they went for 122 points. They're 9-2 this month. I saw a headline that said the scuffling Bucks lose to the Knicks. They're 9-2 in their last 11 games, and they're what, 2 games behind Boston for the first seed in the East. So like,
and a kind of a rare, again, he 2 outliers back to back, right? Facing the Knicks, he has 9 rebounds and he has 1 rebound.
right.
If he settles in for his usual 3 to 5 rebounds, he's going over 50 fantasy points.
50, yeah, and like you mentioned, outlier shooting performance the night before, the 2 nights before, where he's 6 of 16, 5 of 17. This is a guy shooting 44% for the year and like career like great 3-point shooter and all that good stuff. So Lillard at 9K obviously stands out. I don't see how Tyrese Maxey is as bad as he was. I just like now it was a good point made on their broadcast. It's like he's really good with Embiid because Embiid's at the top of the scouting report.
Right.
And now Maxey's at the top of the scouting report. And Orlando's a very good defensive team, and they have Jalen Suggs to chase him around all night, which is annoying. But 4 for 20 is, I don't think, repeatable.
Yeah, the thing we key on here, in my opinion, is the 44 minutes.
44 minutes, yep.
If he's going to play 44 minutes against Orlando, who's going to be on a back-to-back here.
Yep.
Yeah, and Suggs has been questionable lately. I mean, he got ruled in that game, but maybe he sits on the second leg of a back-to-back. I don't know how you kind of go away from Maxey at the $8,800 price point, knowing what his usage rate is. Now, we'll talk about some other Philly guys here. Obviously, Kelly Oubre had a really big game. You're big on De'Anthony Melton when there's no Joel Embiid. So there'll be other options in Philly. Toby, revenge, game against Orlando here. I mean, Toby looked pretty good. So certainly some other options as we kind of work our way through Philly. But, Maxey tops the charts for a reason. He's going to be their leading shooter in terms of shot attempts, and the minutes are going to be, pretty ridiculous. Jalen Brunson against OKC, not – I like going to Brunson here and there. I don't know if this is a spot I'm attacking, but what are your thoughts off a guy with back-to-back 50 fantasy point games against Milwaukee now?
Yeah, I mean, we've said it all year long. Like, he has a massive ceiling. When he's scoring this way, he has a massive ceiling because he's really solid peripherally pretty much every night, going to get you rebounds and assists in some capacity. And then if he gives you the 30 plus, I mean, he's averaging 26 actual points a game, dude.
How wild is it that this guy was playing behind Luka, became a free agent, got paid a bunch of money, and everybody looked at the Knicks like, why are you giving Jalen Brunson all of this money? And then he's like, oh, it's because I'm going to, be right among the league leaders in points scored. And that's why, like pretty wild.
I got quote tweeted by a Knicks blog last year because I also kind of like poo-pooed it a little bit, which I think was a common thought. Obviously, the complete incorrect one. He's been amazing. Even they're still talking about him being too small and leading a team. It's like, okay, well, he's averaging 26, 6, and 4. And whether he's small or not, he's averaging 26, 6, and 4.
It's the Isaiah Thomas thing, right? Isaiah Thomas during his IT time with the Celtics, averaged a bunch of points, wasn't actually getting MVP votes, but people were like, he's 5'8", he can't lead a playoff team, right? Like, he got him to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I mean,
right?
When you lose to LeBron, that happens. But yeah, I mean, Brunson, pretty elite scoring talent. Again, do you think he gets it done against the Thunder, who just blew out the Timberwolves? I don't know.
It's a good pace spot.
Thunder
are playing fast this month of December.
And Brunson just is and we love Thibodeau, right? So they lost by 19 against Milwaukee. He played 37 minutes, so maybe they don't take him off the floor here.
Right.
Pick your Van Fleet game. He had a good one on Tuesday, coming off 2 really bad ones previously. Home against Phoenix. Feels like Houston's been home a lot lately. I guess they were just on the road. Feels like they've been home a lot, but they were just on the road. Thoughts on Van Vliet in this range? Dinwiddie, talked about Brunson already. Quickly moves down the pricing point. So any interest there?
Van Vliet is fine, 8,100. I don't dislike it. Phoenix is in complete disarray. They can't win games. They don't have depth. The Bradley Beal piece obviously just depleted all the depth on that team. So, they have a lot of questions. So it's not like this is a bad spot for Van Vliet in Houston. We'll see if anyone sits, but as long as Van Vliet's in, he's going to probably play big minutes. I don't really like the rest of this tier. No thanks on Dinwiddie. Cole Anthony, just kind of no he's just the minutes kind of crappy on Cole Anthony, especially when Jalen Suggs plays. And Anthony
Black still started. Actually had a good game tonight too.
Dude, he had 17 points at half, which was a career high, and it was at half. I don't know the exact number he finished with, but 17 at half is something for
the dude. Was the 6th overall pick.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. He's a monster point guard. Like he's like 6'5", 6'6" as a
6'7".
Yeah, 6'7". So, with the hair, it's probably 6'9". He has a impressive set of locks on his head. So Cole Anthony 67, no. Tyus is too expensive, 66, and we know Washington just kind of like weird on back to backs. If everyone's out again, I'm playing Craig Porter at 65, and you can't stop me, dude. He's so good. He's just so good. And then like LeVert and Mitchell are out, like potentially out, like. How do you not? He's going to play 40 minutes again. There's no doubt. So
if Donnie Mitch is active, where does he rank for you?
In terms of spend ups, really high.
Right.
Yeah, I mean they're really depleted.
It'd just be him and Luka going back and forth the whole game.
And it's an illness, so it's not like he's like sitting here like.
Unless he has the flu and he's lost like 15 pounds and they haven't told us, right?
That's fair. That's also a fair point. I'm sure we would know if it's like.
Yeah. But we always hear those crazy stories like, yeah, man, I was sick. They were giving me IVs and I lost 12 pounds. Like, oh, that would have been great to know. Like your body was so depleted,
Yeah, useful information we could have.
Yeah, exactly. Schroeder's here at 62 against the Wizards. I think a lot of Toronto's going to be popular. I know we're going to want to get Scotty Barnes in our lineup probably.
Yeah.
On this slate. Exum had a tough night, but again, if he's the only one next to Luka, some nights Luka does it all. So other guys are going to suffer, right? So. Exum's there at 6K. Your boy.
And if Luka doesn't play, by the way, I mean,
right.
If Luka doesn't play, the offense is flowing through Dante Exum.
Yeah, 20 actual in that game against San Antonio. Melton, as you mentioned, 36 minutes, 15, 7, 5, then 5+ blocks and steals. You've had the numbers a lot. Whenever you do the playbook, you look at the usage rates and the fantasy points per minute bumps. When Joel Embiid is off the floor, and De'Anthony Melton gets just a monster boost there. Now, again, he's someone that you'll look at the stat sheet and you'll be like, man, he's snowflaking me. You'll go away. You'll come back, and all of a sudden he's had a rebound. He's had 2 steals. He knocks down a 3, and he's smashing. And that's basically what happened in this game. For a while, he wasn't doing much of anything. Fourth quarter, I think it was, he gets in there, knocks down a couple buckets, gets a steal and a block, and now he's got 42 fantasy points.
He took 17 shots in that game too. Like he just didn't make them. Imagine he makes half of those shots. He has a 50 bomb. So the numbers you alluded to, he actually is tied with Tyrese Maxey for the lead in usage bump. 6.8% bump for both De'Anthony Melton and Maxey. Maxey at 33%, Melton at 25%. De'Anthony Melton without Joel Embiid this year, 1.16 fantasy points per minute. That's second on the team. Well, Mo Bamba's 1. Shout out Mo Bamba. Tyrese Maxey's 2, and De'Anthony Melton is 3 at 1.16. So, if you end up on De'Anthony Melton at 5,800, let's just. I mean, we're playing. I mean,
I know you're playing. I know you're playing him. Yeah. 28, 26, 29. The minutes for Gary Trent, man, they're here.
I mean, they need something. They need help. So it doesn't surprise me. I mean, they need offense. They're bad. They're going to sell. They're probably getting him out there to like.
They're going to trade OG and then move Trent into the lineup, or do they trade them both? Trent feels like when they traded Norm. Is it Norm?
Yep.
They traded Norm to Portland, right?
Oh, yeah.
They traded him for Gary Trent, didn't they? Did they get Gary Trent in that deal? Yeah.
Yes. And then they also got. And then Portland traded Norm to Clippers when they were like selling. Yeah. I mean, I think Trent's gone, OG's gone. There's a chance Pascal is gone. Schroeder. I mean, there's a chance for
reset around Scotty Barnes.
Just reset around Scotty Barnes. Exactly. Great. You give Grady Dick the time on the floor. He was a first round pick this year. So Hurdle's an option to be traded. They're all not safe. Every single one of them is not safe.
Dude, I would love a fire sale on Toronto. Then they just have to play Chris Boucher.
Yeah. Until he's also traded to them.
Until he's also done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else down here at point guard? I mean, obviously, like if people are ruled out, they'll become more valuable. But you have Giddey at 59. You talked about Melton, Trent quickly. DSJ got off to a really good first rotation and then never did another thing during this game. Anthony Black, as we talked about, had a good start. Anyone down here at point guard for you?
I mean, quickly coming off 20, he has 19 plus points in 3 of the last 4. You know, if he's always a tournament play, the price has kind of settled into this high 4, low 5s, which is comfortable. If you want to get to Emmanuel quickly, low 20s minutes, 30 fantasy point upside probably. That's fine. Anthony Black would probably have to have someone out for me. I'm not like going there based on a career night,
Sure.
I know he was a lotto pick, and I'm not saying he can't be really good, but I'm not going to chase there.
Okay. Let's see. Is there anybody else? Wasn't really anybody else that kind of
I don't think
there. Jordan Poole had 30 actual, by the way, tonight. I don't know if you knew that, but he's maybe heating up a little bit. Last couple games, 28, 25.
No peripheral stats. He just scored, right? He just
he had 3 steals, 3, 2, 3, and 3 steals. So he probably had 40 plus fantasy points tonight. Coming off of a 25 actual game against Golden State, at 20 against Sacramento. Kind of picked the right day. Maybe Jordan Poole's starting to become a bit more volume shooter as we thought. But
yep.
Mentioned Booker already. $9,600 here against Houston could be a decent little spot. Any of these guys we haven't talked about, Max Strus, if people are out again, the shots and minutes are going to be there.
Yeah, I played Strus the other day at 62. All the shots, all the peripheral stats. 17 3-point attempts.
Yeah.
17. He's now taken 12, 12, and 17. These 3 games have just been without like everybody, right? So he's just going to keep shooting threes while everyone out. So, I mean, yeah, if everyone's out
nothing better than a volume shooter that's only shooting threes, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if they go in,
if he goes 10 for 17, he's in every winning lineup.
Derek White, 6 of 10. All of a sudden he has like 30 actual. You're like, oh geez, look what happened there. So in with you there. Middleton at 64 is in this range, played 33 minutes again, 10 of 20 shooting. Yep. I know we're probably still playing Middleton until he's over 7K.
Yep.
That price just isn't too fair. Hardaway, sort of the same boat for you, same price, kind of the same player.
Just keep shooting. They're just gonna keep shooting.
Keep shooting. Obviously, if Karras is in and Mitchell's out, I think there's some appeal. I know the minutes have fluctuated a bit with him, but he did give you a 41 fantasy point game there as well. OG talked about Melton. Oubre is down here, as I mentioned, played 40 minutes in that game.
It's great.
Be hard pressed not to want to start lineups with Melton Oubre, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, there's going to be a lot of lineups that have 3 to 4 Philly guys again.
True.
Right? And it's not a great spot, but you're going to see Maxey get ownership. You're going to see Melton. You're going to see Kelly Oubre. You're going to see one of the centers get ownership too. I know Paul Reed sucked, but he was in massive foul trouble to start that game. And then you're going to see Mo Bamba get ownership because Mo Bamba played 25 minutes and was great. So there's going to be Philly lineups, John, everywhere. There's going to be 3 to 4 guys in lineups because when you take off a guy leading the league in scoring, top 5 in rebounds, has 7 assists a game, who's going to back-to-back MVP as long as he can stay healthy, that's a lot of production to go around. So, how would you rank Oubre, Tobias, and Melton? Obviously Maxey has the highest ceiling of them all.
Toby's the most expensive of the Melton Oubre group. He's got the tougher matchup, having to deal with Banchero and Franz Wagner in the front court there.
Do you prefer Oubre Melton?
I think so. One of the reasons I cashed on the Christmas Day slate was I had Grayson Allen in my lineup.
I'm so happy for you.
32 actual, 8 of 17 from 3.
That's just
for Grayson Allen. So
makes a lot of sense.
But you and I, we talk about this a lot. This isn't new. I play Grayson Allen. I play him in my lineups. I'm okay with his current role. Sure, he's not going to go for 48 again. But like we've got some mixtures of 30s.
Yep.
He fills out the stat sheet. He gives you steals, couple of rebounds, couple of assists. He's going to give you double digits in points. I like Grayson Allen at the price. I'll probably maybe find a way to play him at the lineup if the build gets there. I know we're talking shooting guard. I clicked on small forward there, but he's dual positional eligibility. Dylan Brooks left this game on Tuesday. Aaron Holiday played 25 minutes. Tari Eason played 26. Eamon Thompson got some minutes in that game as well. Be curious to see what the lineup looks like if Dylan Brooks was to be ruled out.
Let's see. Do they have the popcorn machine up? They do already. Shut up, popcorn machine, for being fast. Tari Eason checked in for Brooks.
Okay.
Played the final 18:43 of the game.
Yep. Jalen Green played 20 minutes in this game, by the way. He's just falling out.
Yeah, he did not play after the 4-minute mark in the third quarter. Never played again.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Holiday, John, for the record, like you just said, played the final 17 minutes of the game.
I don't often like to play Aaron Holiday, but he's been pretty good for Houston this year.
He has been pretty good for Houston. And if that's going to be...
Like if Aaron Holiday starts for Dylan Brooks, he's $4,600.
Well, do you think he would? Do you think he would start, or do you think that they would do
he did start this year? I mean, I would.
He started in place of Van Vliet. So do you think that they would like? I feel like.
You think they start Tari at the 3?
Tari, I could see him starting Tari. I mean, he checked in for Brooks, which means, and they played. Let's see, was Jabari and. They closed Holiday, Eason, Şengün, Smith, Van Vliet.
Yeah, we've seen that before with Tari Eason closing games. We talked about it. It's either Brooks or Jabari that were coming off the floor usually in those situations. So, yeah, well, you know how I feel about Tari Eason. I guess the one thing with Tari Eason here is it is a back-to-back.
True, that's fair.
So we'll have to see if he ends up on the injury report or not. With this being a back-to-back. The Eamon Thompson thing is kind of interesting if he was to get. He's only 3,300. He played 22 minutes against Dallas in that 30-point win, and he gave you 23 fantasy points. If Tari Eason was out, Dylan Brooks was out, would you consider a punt of Eamon Thompson here?
Yeah, I think you can see. I think there's like a real scenario where one of him, Holiday, or Jae'Sean Tate get like
I always forget about Jae'Sean Tate. I wish they would forget about Jae'Sean Tate sometimes.
Yeah, same.
All right, let's move on over to small forward. Scotty Barnes, 8,700 is your top guy. I would love to build lineups around him. I'm probably going to try to build some lineups around him.
Same.
19-9 forward, 5 steals in that one game against Washington earlier this season. Yeah, he's a 9K player, and they got him under 9K right now. So happy to build. Franz Wagner, I got him in my underdog lineups tonight. He popped. Big game for Franz here. You mentioned Paolo's missing some early bunnies. He still finished at 24, 3 and 8, but Wagner went 28, 8, 9, 1 and 1 in that game here. So not having to contend with JoJo down there in the front court as well helps. I definitely don't mind if you want to take another stab on him. Yeah, Bridges in a good defensive matchup, or a good matchup for him given the lack of defense. Milwaukee plays. Anybody else? A lot of the guys we've discussed. Anybody we haven't talked about that you're interested in?
Anyone that we haven't? I mean, Toby, obviously. I mean, I know we briefly touched on Toby. I would get to him 64. He's been so good the last 2 games. 27 and 33 actual points in those 2 games.
One with Embiid, one without Embiid, right?
Right. The one with Embiid was I remember you messaged me like, what is going on? Like, why is Tobias Harris doing this? And you know what? Good for him. Like, monster game.
Do it more often, man. Like, if you got this in your bag, what are you doing?
Right. He does have it in the bag. So, like, if they're like, if you land on Tobias 6,400 small forward, power forward, I think that's perfectly fine. You mentioned OG. I actually really like OG in this spot. He's really inconsistent and hard to get right, but there's a lot of times where Washington is always a get right spot for players. Second leg of a back-to-back, Washington's legs are going to be tired. How many closeouts is Jordan Poole going to have to a wide open OG on Anunoby? I don't think many. It is so frustrating to watch RJ Barrett dominate a game. He scored like 15 first quarter points against Milwaukee and then like never played again. 28 minutes is just infuriating. But if you want to play him, you know, he should get there. There's not much else that I like really love. Derek Jones would probably be the next guy I get to. Back to being small forward, power forward. Just another guy who just, you know, benefits from Luka getting all the attention. He's just open all the time.
Yep. If Luka's out, obviously, value there. What did Georges do? 20 minutes, nothing too much.
He's just not doing enough, like outside of the scoring.
Yeah.
For him to be under, like, for him not to be under 4K.
Yeah, Koulibaly came off the bench, didn't really have a good game.
No.
Okoro still playing a bunch of minutes, but not really a great offensive player. Yeah, I guess there's really not a lot. I mean, if like Jayshawn Tate started for Dylan Brooks, would you go there? Such a low volume player.
Probably not.
Okay.
I think there's enough value to have to avoid that.
Power forward. Giannis is 11K. Obviously, Giannis is in. He's always in play. KD at 95 against Houston. Took 11 shots.
Dude,
I don't know what's going on with Kevin Durant here lately.
Bizarre. I mean, Phoenix in general, right? There. I mean, it's bizarre.
Yeah.
Well. We know. Chimezie Metu loves Christmas, so like.
He had a huge game. Like, I mean, I got nothing more to. I have no more comments on what happened in Phoenix. So, Randall at 85, always a guy you can throw in lineups if you want.
Yep.
You know, threaten double on a nightly basis with Mitch Robb out of the lineup. Kuzma's 82, Banchero 83, Siakam 8K. How you rank in the group?
So this was the Siakam game. There was no OG in that game.
Yeah.
But obviously that might not matter whether OG's in or out. If Siakam has another, like, gets going against Washington, would that be surprising at all? No.
Yeah.
But we've talked about this a lot, and I'll say that we've been pretty spot on with this, John. Where we start the conversation, and I'll be like, well, Siakam's much cheaper, and then we're both just kind of like, by the end of it, we're like, but like, it doesn't really matter because Scotty Barnes has just been infinitely better from a fantasy perspective. So
yeah, I think night to night we get higher ceilings from Scotty Barnes, you know, right? And the one thing that Siakam's lacking most nights is the defense. You know,
Yep.
You know, he's had games obviously where he's gotten steals or gotten blocks. Scotty Barnes, though, will give us more often than not, is giving us multiple blocks and steals with the 5-6+ assists and the 8+ rebounds and the 20+ points. And that's the reason why he's $700 more expensive. But $700 isn't a ton of money when you're crafting lineups most nights. So, like, yeah, we do find ourselves getting to Barnes. You know, but I also don't mind going to Siakam here if the lineup fits it in there. So this is a 7-point spread for Washington at home on the back-to-back. So maybe some blowout potential to think about here, but fine doing that. Jabari did not have a good night. Against Pacers, gets a bounce back potential spot against Phoenix. Talk Jalen Williams. I don't get the Denny price. He's not really playing all that well.
No.
Like Cam J, Eason, Bobby Poe's probably the next guy we haven't talked about. Got 31 minutes out of him in that Knicks game on Christmas. 12-9. Usually you would have thought more fantasy production coming from here, but how do you feel about Portis at 5,500?
I think he's a perfectly fine last piece in. Power forward, center, 5,500. There's 30-minute upside. Obviously, what happens with Giannis is TBD, because if there's no Giannis, I expect Portis to start. But I remember, I think they started like Andre Jackson instead of Giannis earlier in the year, which was incredibly tilting. Or they started Jay Crowder over Portis, and they kept Portis off the bench.
Yeah, they started Beauchamp a few times.
Beauchamp. So, like, if Giannis sits, Portis is going to be really popular, and then he's going to not start, and we're going to be like, oh, no.
Right.
But I think Portis would stand. Let me stop talking about Portis. Let's start talking about the GOAT.
I mean, you've been on him for a little bit, but they weren't playing him when you've been on him. And then they played him 34 minutes against Dallas, and he goes for 23 and 19. What's more likely to happen? He plays 34 minutes or he plays 13 minutes.
Well, Nurkic is back.
Right.
So he might not ever play again. And did you hear the audio clip of him turning the ball over and Devin Booker yelling at him? Because Devin Booker was mic'd up on Christmas and he turned the ball over. And this is in the middle of him like having this game. And only Devin Booker got back and he yelled to Matu and he said, "You turned the ball over, and you don't even think you're too good to get back on defense." And they caught it on tape, and it's like, well, yeah, dude, he has 23 and 19. Like he's got to preserve himself a little bit here,
right.
you know. But it is like just not repeatable. I don't know what to say.
DFS getting some minutes here. You know what he is as a player. Probably need him for defense on Giannis or something in this game. Gallinari's not really playing. Grant Williams, they've been moving around. Not a favorite play of mine by any stretch.
Ew. He's coming off the bench.
Yeah, come off the bench. I got nothing else down here. Do you have anybody you want?
No, the value's at center that we'll talk about.
JoJo's already out. You talked Giannis, talked Randall. You have Şengün coming off of a pretty big game. He is at $8,400. Holmgren also on a back-to-back at 78. Jared Allen at 73. Nurkic back in the lineup at 72.
Definitely interested in Şengün with the way he's played. Seemingly like back to the guy he was earlier in the year, which is good. Definitely fine with Chet. He's been really, really good lately. 49, 43, 41, 41. And I believe he either hit or got like 39 fantasy points on the Tuesday slate. So just continuing his like trend of solid production after solid production. Jared Allen nuked the slate the other day, almost triple-doubled with 7 assists. There's no Donovan Mitchell. They're using him kind of as a hub. You can definitely get to Jared Allen if you want 7,300. You can probably get to him with Mitchell. A lot of pick and roll with Jared Allen and Donovan Mitchell. And probably no on Nurkic. Claxton has a ceiling if you want to get to Claxton. Brolo, no Giannis. Brolo is a guy that people forget to always click on, but he has like a high ceiling. And then the guy you just had, Hartenstein, just super safe, super steady, super safe. Pretty good center position on this slate for sure.
Agreed. Pirtle at 56. Lively, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
You're a fan of. 8 of 9, 20 and 10. Will he do 20 and 10 against Jared Allen?
No, and I mean, I'm not going to say he won't. I won't say he will either. I think for me, Lively his ceiling is with Luka Doncic because the pick and roll and Luka's passing and I'm just not sure he gets that the same like respect. Like Luka's, if Dante Exum's in a pick and roll, no one's even gonna like show to Dante Exum. They're just gonna like drop on Derek Lively. So I want Luka to be in for Derek Lively.
Sure. Wendell Carter may not play, right? Back to back. First game back, first back to back since he's been back.
No, he's played back to back, but he only played like 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, right here, 23 and 21. All right. Well, I guess we'll see how that plays out for him. Precious 49, Paul Reed's 48, and you mentioned Reed and then Bamba down here at 4K. Bamba had the 26 minutes because Reed was in foul trouble. He had the bigger night. Do you just play whoever starts?
Okay, so here's what's gonna happen. Because we just saw it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen? I mean, no one's going to play Paul Reed,
and
everyone's going to click on Mo Bamba. Paul Reed's going to stay out of foul trouble, going to nuke the slate because he's, obviously Mo Bamba had the big game. Mo Bamba has 111-minute sample without Joel Embiid, 1.4 fantasy points per minute. That's really good. He had 25 of those minutes in this one game. Right. Paul Reed started, just had 2 fouls, immediately picked up his third, picked up his fourth, like in the first half. Had 4 fouls in the first half, never came back. Mo Bamba never missed a shot. Like he just made all these shots. And if Paul Reed's starting, he's a fantasy point per minute guy. He is at 0.99 fantasy points per minute on the year without Joel Embiid. He is more likely, like, out of every 10 games that Joel Embiid is out, right? If Paul Reed is the starter, Paul Reed is going to be the guy more often than not having the bigger game than Mo Bamba. Like, they're not just starting Paul Reed every game where they're like, okay, we're going to start Paul Reed. He's probably going to get in foul trouble, so we're just going to turn to Mo Bamba. Like, that's just like a bad way to approach things. Like, I'm not saying Mo Bamba is a bad play as like a pivot from Paul
Yeah, I was
Reed.
gonna say, I think this Boston game JoJo didn't play in. Bamba played 20 minutes, Reed played 27. So
Like, it's just, and they start, and I'm fairly certain in that game, John, they started like Marcus Morris at
sure.
5. So like more often than not, Paul Reed's going to be the guy out there playing extended run. So I'm going to go to Paul Reed. I still lean Paul Reed. I'm very interested to see the ownership when it first comes out, because if Mo Bamba is more much higher owned than Paul Reed, I don't care who it is that I have to yell from the rooftops to play Paul Reed over Bamba. I know there's savings obviously and whatnot, but like there's a reason one guy's starting and there's one reason one guy's in the rotation when Embiid's there, and there's a reason why Mo Bamba only gets off the bench in blowouts and when Embiid's out as a backup, right? Like, so that's my personal opinion on like the situation that Philly has, because it's going to be a very tricky one to figure out. I think that people are going to be like, well, I can save $800 to go to the guy who played all the minutes last game. Well, look into it. Foul trouble. Is Bam Adebayo on the other side of the floor without Jimmy Butler this game? No, he's not. Wendell Carter, Goga Bitadze, and Mo Wagner is, right? So definitely a different situation. I like Paul Reed and his fantasy production when Embiid's not there. So that'll be where I personally allocate my funds to.
All right, so I guess we're going to start our lineups with Paul Reed then.
Do you agree with like what I just said, or
yeah?
do you
I agree with. I'm going to play whoever is starting. So
Reed start. I just assume Reed starts last game, or so they start.
But the way Bamba played, who's to say that he doesn't draw the starting?
That's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, I'm good on going the assumption Reed is there.
Okay.
Do we play assuming Luka plays here?
What is the schedule for is this like I'm gonna sit Wednesday because I play Thursday? They do also play Thursday in Minnesota.
Save them against Cleveland, play him in Minnesota, you think?
If there's like risk, if he's like actually been playing, because he's been on the injury report a bunch.
Soreness, but obviously the game in Minnesota is far more important than the game against Cleveland for the conference.
He also played on 12-11 and 12-12. 44 minutes and 43 minutes.
No, yeah, he plays all the minutes in the world.
So,
yeah, I agree.
I'd say we assume he's in, and then if he's not, you have all the money in the world to pivot in an example lineup that might not matter because the top 4 players of the slate might not play.
I agree. Just clicking buttons. You tell me when to stop.
Clicking buttons on all the Philly guys. I'm not going to stop you clicking Philly.
and Tyrese, just
Tyrese. That's none of that's being stopped.
Why not? Gary Trent, 49.
Why not Gary Trent?
49? Why not Gary Trent?
There's a lot of reasons. If we're playing Luka, maybe Derek Jones, 5K.
Where is he at?
5K.
Okay, and then 62 Uto.
OG.
Just run it. We're so close to your guy, but we can't get there. 6,500.
Craig Porter. If Mitchell's not playing, we gosh dang better get to Craig Porter.
Let's go Porter. And guard.
Well, this is contingency that Mitchell's not playing.
Well, obviously, yeah. I'm just
throwing it out there for everybody out there.
The way things have been going, and what's Stan Merrill's life like? 12 minutes here. Got hurt in that game, I think, right?
Yeah, he didn't play. He didn't play. He did not play last game.
I'll say this: my lineup works a lot better with Mo Bamba in it. So
that's what a lot of people are going to say.
My lineup's going to look Works out a lot better if I could just play my.
That's what a lot of people are gonna say. I'm telling you right now.
Actually, it kind of sucks still. There's no
John,
bench. So.
John, the way that people are gonna think, right?
Yeah.
It's clear as day. Recency bias is DFS. Like that is how long have we talked about recency bias?
A while.
We're just gonna talk about Paul Reed, 17 minutes. Oh, he barely played. Mo Bamba played all the minutes, was great, but we're not gonna factor in the foul trouble against Bam Adebayo, right? Like monster foul trouble. And then who closed that game? Paul Reed closed that game. Like that's just what would happen in a game where he's not in foul trouble. So just again, I don't need to go down.
No arguments with me. I'm just saying that it fits. It kind of fits a little better, honestly.
Just don't play Porter in this. Just don't play Porter in this time.
All right, don't play Porter. We have 50.
Donnie Mitch is going to play. Let's just assume that
he could play.
You had Trent.
I had Trent here. Yeah. What was OG? Is he 6K? OG is 59.
Yeah.
We did OG 59. That's a 52. 52 util. What's he's not really playing anymore. It's not great. Let's go back to Gary. Let's go back to Gary Trent.
Quickly.
Beasley? What's Beasley been doing?
No, he's quickly.
Yeah, let's do quickly. That works. So I'll give it $400 to play around with if we need to. Is there 60?
You could do you could plug Luke. You plug Luka into the util here, because he's your late night hammer exposure, and you'll have like Phoenix, Houston, New York, OKC to pick from in that case, and you probably know by then, right?
Yeah.
Like you probably you can pivot to SGA, or you can pivot to insert one of those stars from Philly, Houston.
Sure. All right. Well, just an example on it for everybody quickly. Melton, Oubre, Eason, Reed, OG, and NOB. Derek Jones Jr. and Luka Doncic here. $400 left over to play around with. And of course, if you want to go down from Luka, you certainly could. You can play SGA for $1,300 cheaper. Booker, Mitchell, if he's in, you know, the drill. So we'll have the playbook out for everybody. If you have any questions, you can find us in the Discord or on Twitter. Our Twitter handles are right there at _real_grande at Jon Impemba 777 as well. What?
I mean, dude, look at this. She needs to get a room. Like, come on.
What's happening?
My freaking dog is just like
herself. Well, you know,
going to town in the background.
Look at that. I mean, drawing the attention to it, by the way. Anyways, we'll be back 5 o'clock Eastern time for the live show. We'll talk to you guys then.